You touched on this, but in the documentary, he does admit to being an absent father for a long time. Were you aware of that as you were growing up?
Sure, he wasn't there. And, it was more complicated because my parents were split and I had a stepfather and all of that. But yeah, I certainly had the sense growing up that not just me, that the family came second. That if there was a call from CBS News on line 1 and a call from us on line 2, he'd have taken the call from CBS first. That's what mattered to him most. Did it hurt a little bit? Yeah, but that was him.
You told a story that you once went up against him on an interview.
I didn't go up against him, he just stole the interview. I told this at the memorial service. My father was notorious for how many, not enemies may be too strong, but how many people he just ticked off, some of his colleagues. And I think everybody at 60 Minutes felt he had stolen a story from them or elbowed them out of the way. So when I got up, I said, many people in this room were not talking to my father at some point. Here's my story. I was going to do an interview with the comedian Chris Rock. I was working at ABC. It was all set up. I was supposed to go over that day and do the interview. Crew's there, and they suddenly call and say, Chris Rock's not coming. Why? 60 Minutes. And that's like my worst fear. And I think, well, if it's Morley or Ed, it's not so bad. It wasn't. It was my old man. And now I tell the story, this is slightly exaggerated, that I called my father and I said, well, you're going to have to decide who's more important to you, Chris Rock or Chris Wallace. And there's a long pause. And I say, Mike, which is what I called him, and he said, I'm thinking.
Ultimately, though, he did give the piece to Ed Bradley,
yes,
right?
He did, but he didn't give it to me.
He didn't give it to you.
His compromise was, I'll keep it for 60 Minutes, but I'll let somebody else do it, which actually, knowing him, was a pretty big concession.